The government knows something most Americans don't. NASA issued warnings. Congress held hearings. Yet we're still completely vulnerable. One electromagnetic pulse and your modern life disappears forever. But some things will keep working. Here's what. Imagine waking up one morning and everything is dead silent. There's no hum from the fridge, no buzzing from your phone, no traffic sounds outside. At first it feels like a peaceful Sunday, but then you check your phone. Black screen. You flip a light switch. Nothing. You try your car, it won't even turn over. Confused, you step outside and it's like the world hit pause. No power, no internet, no cell signal, not even a whisper on the radio. This isn't just a blackout. You've just lived through an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. And life as you know it has changed in an instant. Most people wouldn't know what hit them, but a few would, because there are things that still work after an EMP. And having them could be the difference between pure chaos and actual survival. So in this video, we're breaking down 10 items that will still work after an EMP blackout and why you need to have them before it's too late. Let's clear something up first. An EMP isn't some far-off science fiction idea. It's real, and the threat is growing. It could come from a high-altitude nuclear detonation or even something natural like a massive solar flare, the kind NASA publicly warned about just last year. One sudden burst of energy and every unprotected electronic device around you is instantly fried. You won't be calling 911, you won't be Googling how to survive an EMP. Your phone, your heat, your car, your entire digital world, gone in a blink. And here's the part that should worry you. The U.S. government knows this. FEMA, DHS, even Congress. They've all held hearings and released reports. But despite the warnings, our grid is still fragile, still exposed, and most Americans are completely unprepared. So the real question is, what can you do? Let's talk about the 10 items that'll still have your back when the rest of the world goes dark. 1. Manual hand tools. You don't need a fancy power drill when the grid goes down. What you do need is a good old hammer, a reliable wrench, a handsaw, and the knowledge to use them. When society hits the reset button after an EMP, your manual tool set becomes survival gold. Now, here's the scary part. According to a 2024 Statista survey, over 60% of U.S. adults under 45 say they've never used a manual saw or wrench in their life. Let that sink in. FEMA's 2023 Emergency Preparedness Report even stressed that basic repair and self-reliance skills are disappearing in urban areas. In other words, we're not just digitally dependent. We're mechanically helpless. It's 3 days post-blackout. No plumbers, no YouTube tutorials. A pipe bursts in your basement, water's flooding in. What do you grab? If you said call someone, you're already too late. And let's talk about shelter. If you had to patch a roof, build a barricade, or split firewood, could you? Did you know even rural preppers are reporting shortages of basic hand tools in hardware stores since late 2023? In a long-term grid-down crisis, the guy with a handsaw, a crowbar, and a set of screwdrivers becomes the most useful person on the block. We rely too much on buttons and batteries. But when everything electronic goes silent, it's the manual stuff. The simple, heavy, no-battery-required stuff that keeps you alive. Are you ready to go hands-on, or are you hoping the lights come back? 2. Devices stored in a Faraday cage. Here's something most people don't realize. An EMP doesn't just knock out the power grid. It destroys everything with a circuit board. That includes your phone, your generator, even your car, gone in milliseconds. But here's the good news. You can protect certain items with something as simple as a metal trash can. It's called a Faraday cage, and it works by blocking the electromagnetic surge. FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security both mention it as a viable protection method for electronics in EMP scenarios. And no, you don't need military-grade gear, a galvanized steel bin, some cardboard, aluminum tape to seal the lid. That's it. Cheap, simple, life-saving. Now think about this. Do you have a way to communicate if the grid goes down? A walkie-talkie, a crank radio, maybe a small solar charger? The 2008 U.S. EMP Commission report said it clearly. An EMP attack could cause cascading failures of critical infrastructure. And without communication, you're in the dark, literally and figuratively. Most people throw out old cookie tins, ammo boxes, even filing cabinets. All of these can be converted into protective cages. So the real question is, how many of your survival essentials are safe from an EMP right now? If the answer is none, then you're not ready. Because when that pulse hits, what you've stored before the blackout could be the only lifeline you've got. 3. Bicycles. Manual or simple e-bikes stored properly. Here's a scary thought. After an EMP strike, 90% of vehicles on U.S. roads could stop working in seconds. That's not a guess. That's according to the 2008 EMP Commission report backed by the Department of Homeland Security. Modern cars are packed with over 50 microchips. When those fry, your $40,000 SUV becomes a giant paperweight. So what still works? Your bicycle. No circuits, no battery, no software update required, just chain, pedals, and muscle. Let's say your kid is stranded across town. Phones are down. No Ubers, no fuel. Do you have any way to reach them fast? Because in a citywide collapse, roads get clogged. People panic. But you can ride right past the traffic, right past the chaos. And here's the wild part. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, only 12% of Americans use a bike regularly, and even fewer have one ready for emergencies. So ask yourself, is your bike in working shape? Do you have spare tires, tools, or even a basic helmet? And what about a backup e-bike stored in a Faraday cage? Some e-bikes with no smart features could survive, especially those with off-grid charging options. In a blackout world, the quiet hum of bike tires might be the only sound of hope left on the street. Don't wait to pedal when it's already too late. 4. Wood-burning stove or fire pit. If the power grid goes down, you lose more than lights. You lose heat. You lose the stove. You lose the ability to boil water. But with a wood-burning stove or even a basic fire pit, you take back control. No gas, no electricity. Doesn't matter. You've still got hot meals and warmth when it matters most. And let's not forget, over 40% of U.S. homes rely on electricity as their primary heat source, according to the Energy Information Administration. That means nearly half the country could be freezing in place after an EMP or major outage. Now imagine this. It's January. Wind chills are below zero. Your neighbor's generator is dead. Solar panels are buried under ice. And you're huddled around a fire, sipping hot soup because you planned ahead. FEMA warns that extreme cold after a disaster can be just as deadly as the event itself. In fact, hypothermia can set in under 50 degrees, especially in kids or the elderly. So ask yourself, what's your plan when the thermostat hits 30 degrees and the power isn't coming back? Wood is everywhere, branches, fallen trees, cut logs. A fire pit in your backyard isn't camping anymore, that's survival. In a world without gas or grid, who's eating hot stew? And who's eating cold beans? Don't wait until you're freezing to realize what you should have built months ago. 5. Crank or battery-powered radio. When the power grid fails, and it will eventually, there's one thing more valuable than even food or fuel: information. Because in a true blackout, you won't know what just happened or what's coming next. No phones, no internet. Cell towers. Most have backup power for only 8 to 24 hours according to the FCC. After that, they're dead, gone, and you'll be flying blind in a world that's already gone quiet. But a crank radio still works. No plugs, no Wi-Fi. Just a handle you turn and a lifeline to the outside world. FEMA and NOAA both recommend having an emergency weather radio that can pick up NOAA all hazards alerts, which cover not just storms, but chemical spills, nuclear incidents, and yes, EMP attacks. What if you're sitting in your home thinking everything's fine, but 30 miles away, a nuclear plant just issued a silent evacuation order? Without a radio, you don't hear it. You stay put, and your family stays in the danger zone. During Hurricane Ian in 2022, entire communities were left in the dark after cell towers failed. It was the local radio stations that got vital info out. Road closures, food drop points, rescue operations. Now imagine an EMP, A nationwide blackout. No phones, no texts, no alerts. All you've got is that crank radio on your shelf. And the best part, many modern models also have solar backup, flashlights, even USB ports to trickle charge a phone if it still works. But here's the truth. Only 13% of Americans say they're very prepared for a disaster, according to a 2023 Pew Research study. That means 87% of people are unprepared to hear what matters most when it matters most. So when the grid goes silent, will you be listening or will you be guessing? Because the difference could mean bugging out in time or missing your only chance. 6. Candles, oil lamps, and lanterns. Let me ask you something. What's the first thing people reach for when the power goes out? The flashlight. Then their phone. But when the batteries die and the phone's just a cold brick in your hand, what do you have left? That's when the panic sets in. Not because it's dark, but because you're blind, vulnerable. And here's the truth most folks don't want to admit. Light is more than just convenience. It's psychological security. It tells your brain you're safe, you're not alone, you're still in control. And when you take that away for long enough, people break. After Hurricane Katrina, reports flooded in of neighborhoods where residents huddled around candles just to feel sane. Not to read, not to cook, just to exist in something other than darkness. And that was a storm. Now imagine a national EMP blackout, weeks, maybe months without power. FEMA's own report in 2024 warned that a widespread grid-down event could leave millions in darkness, especially in rural areas where restoring infrastructure takes even longer. You think you'll stay calm, but how will your kids react when the lights don't come back for 72 hours straight? Now here's something that might shock you. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the average American household experiences only about 6 hours of power outage per year. That means the vast majority of Americans have never spent more than a single night in total blackout. We're simply not wired for darkness anymore. We don't have candles in drawers. We don't keep matches in a bag. And yet when everything else fails, no tech, no batteries, no solar, a simple oil lamp or wax candle still works every single time. It's ancient tech, sure, but it's EMP-proof, storm-proof, power grid-proof. No circuit boards, no firmware updates, just wick, flame, and light. It's the second night after the EMP. The city is pitch black. You hear shouting a few streets over. Maybe it's just someone looking for help. Maybe not. You peek through the window and guess what? Your house is the only one glowing softly in the neighborhood. Would that light bring you safety or make you a target? That's where smart prepping comes in. Use low-profile lanterns, blackout curtains, and keep your lights inside-facing. You want visibility, not visibility to others. You'll want long-burning emergency candles, the kind that can go 100-plus hours. Oil lanterns with extra fuel stored safely in metal cans, and LED lanterns with manual cranks or solar charging, if stored in a Faraday cage beforehand. NOAA has stated that solar storms strong enough to disrupt power grids hit Earth roughly every 100 years. The last one? 1921. We're overdue, and the grid in 2025 is more fragile than ever. So here's the takeaway. Don't wait to be the person scavenging in the dark. Stock your light sources now, because when night falls for good, even a single candle could be the difference between fear and peace. What would you do if the lights went out tonight and never came back on? 7. Mechanical water pump or gravity filter. Let's get real for a second. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. Now picture this. It's day 4 after an EMP event. The taps are bone dry. The city's water stations are offline, filtration plants down, and your neighbors. They're walking around with empty gallon jugs, knocking on doors, looking desperate. This isn't a what-if. After the 2003 blackout in the Northeast, over 50 million people lost power across the U.S. and Canada. And in dozens of towns, municipal water systems failed within hours. According to the EPA, over 90% of U.S. water treatment systems rely on electric pumps and digital monitoring. EMP hits? They're toast. Could you find clean water if your faucet stopped forever right now? So let's talk solutions that actually work when nothing else does. First up, gravity-fed water filters like the Berkey or LifeStraw family. No electricity, no pressure systems, just pour and wait. They're used in disaster zones all over the world, and they remove 99.99% of bacteria, viruses, even heavy metals. Then there's the manual water pump. If you've got a private well, a deep well hand pump can be your lifeline. No motors, no wires, just old-fashioned leverage and a little sweat. Some models can pull clean water from 200+ feet underground. You'd be shocked how many Americans live on a well and have no way to access it if the power cuts out. In a long-term grid-down event, rivers and lakes become everyone's plan B. But so do dead animals, sewage runoff, chemical leaks. If you're not filtering that water, you're not surviving. And here's a gut punch. During the 2021 Texas freeze, hospitals reported spikes in waterborne illness just days after tap service failed. If a cold snap can do that, imagine what a national EMP blackout would unleash. You don't want to be boiling rainwater in a rusted pot over a trash fire, hoping it's clean enough. Would your current setup give you drinkable water for the next 30 days? So here's what you do right now. While the taps still work, store at least 1 gallon of water per person per day for 2 weeks. Get a gravity-fed filter that requires no power, no pressure. If you're on a well, install a non-electric hand pump before it's buried under 6 feet of panic, and stash water purification tablets or iodine drops as backups. They're cheap, light, and last forever. Because in a world without power, food gets you through a week. But water gets you through the fight. If your water shut off right now, could your family make it to Friday? 8. Manual locks and safes. Let me take you into a scenario that's all too real. It's the 7th night of a total blackout. No power, no police presence, no one coming to help. The air feels different, still tense. Then suddenly, around 2 a.m., you hear something outside. Not animals, not wind. Footsteps, soft, slow, deliberate. You freeze and your heart starts pounding. Someone's testing your front door. You reach for your safe, hoping to grab your firearm, some cash, or maybe just a flashlight. But as you fumble in the dark and press the keypad, nothing happens. The screen is dead. No beep, no unlock. Just silence. That's when it hits you. Your state-of-the-art electronic safe has become a 200-pound paperweight. This is the reality most people never consider. We're told to get secure, so we buy smart locks, fingerprint safes, keypad vaults. But in an EMP scenario, they fail just like everything else. According to data from CISA, unshielded electronic devices, including locking mechanisms, are vulnerable to a single strong surge. So that digital lock on your front door or gun safe, it's only as good as the power it depends on. 10. Non-electric vehicles. Older cars, dirt bikes, etc. Let's imagine something for a second. You wake up the morning after the blackout. There's no signal on your phone, no power in the house, and the silence outside is unsettling. You load up your gear, your food, your family, and you head to the driveway. You turn the key in your vehicle and nothing. Not even a click. Your modern SUV, your electric car, even that backup generator in the trunk. All fried, totally useless. Why? Because they all rely on sensitive electronics, and an EMP doesn't care how new or expensive your gear is. It just wipes it out. Now here's where it gets real. According to the EMP Commission, most vehicles built after the early 1980s are vulnerable to electromagnetic pulse disruption because of their integrated circuit boards. That means your car, truck, or even that brand new side-by-side in the garage is likely dead on arrival if it wasn't protected. But vehicles built before 1980, those with simple mechanical systems, no onboard computers, have a much better shot at surviving. So that rusty old pickup your uncle still drives, that carbureted dirt bike from the 70s, they just became priceless. In a true EMP situation, transportation is power. Think about it. No working cars means roads become ghost towns. Gas stations don't work. Supply chains break. Hospitals are unreachable. You may need to move quickly, evacuate, or just get from one safe zone to another. And the people who can move, they survive. In the 2021 Colonial Pipeline attack, gas shortages caused panic across the Southeast, and that was without an EMP. Imagine nationwide panic and no working vehicles to even get to the next town. FEMA has repeatedly warned that transportation disruption after a large-scale grid failure could lead to massive delays in medical response, food distribution, and public safety efforts. That's why every serious prepper keeps a backup vehicle or at least a backup plan. A bicycle is good. A gas-powered scooter with no electronic ignition is better, but an old diesel truck with no electronic components? That's golden. And if you're really ahead of the game, you've got spare ignition parts stored in a Faraday cage just in case. Because here's the truth. In a post-EMP world, the most valuable engine won't be the one with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and 12 cup holders. It'll be the one that starts when you turn a key, even if it's loud, ugly, and leaks a little oil. So I'll leave you with this. If you had to leave right now, no warning, no prep time, could you actually go anywhere? Or would you be stuck, surrounded by dead cars in a city slowly turning into a pressure cooker? Don't let the prettiest car in the driveway become the world's most expensive paperweight. When the lights go out, old school wins. So now that we've walked through all 10 items, let me ask you. If an EMP hit tonight, no warning, no time to prep, would you be okay? Really think about it. Would your family have light when the sun goes down? Or would they sit in darkness wondering what's happening out there? Could you cook dinner without a microwave, get clean water without a faucet, defend your home without electronics? Could you even leave town if you needed to? Most people wouldn't last 3 days, not because they're weak, but because they never thought it would happen to them. And that's what makes EMP so dangerous. They don't give you time. There's no countdown, no storm to track, no alert on your phone. One pulse, 1 second, and your entire life changes. But here's the good news. You're here. You're thinking ahead. That already puts you miles ahead of the crowd, because prepping isn't panic, it's peace of mind. And prepping isn't just about hoarding supplies. It's about thinking smarter, learning which tools will keep working when everything else fails, and getting them in place now before the shelves are empty and it's too late to act. So what now? Start simple. Get one of the items we talked about, just one. Maybe it's a water filter, maybe a solar flashlight, or an old-school wrench set. Then build from there. Small steps stack fast. And before you know it, you've got a real plan, a real shot. Because when that day comes, and I promise it's not if, it's when, it won't be the strongest who survive. It'll be the calm, the ready, the prepared. Would you survive an EMP blackout? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. What do you already have from this list? What did we miss that you'd add? And hey, if this video gave you even one idea you hadn't thought of before, share it with someone. Stay safe. After Hurricane Maria devastated Puerto Rico in 2017, crime didn't just rise. It exploded. Looting was rampant. Homes were broken into. Supplies were stolen. And the one thing that stood between families and danger was whether they had something, anything, to protect themselves. Not just weapons, but access to them. In a long-term blackout, your home becomes your bunker. And if you can't secure what's inside, or worse, you can't reach it, you're in trouble. The good news is old school still works. A mechanical safe, the kind you spin with a dial or unlock with a key, is immune to power loss. So are traditional door locks, padlocks, and anything that doesn't run on batteries or Bluetooth. It might not feel as flashy, but when the grid collapses, simplicity wins. The question you need to ask yourself right now is this. If the power went out tonight with no warning, no countdown, could you still access your essentials in under 60 seconds? Or are you putting your trust in electronics that might never wake up again? Don't wait until you're locked out in the middle of a blackout. Prepare like everything depends on it, because one day it just might. 9. Solar flashlights and solar chargers. Now, let's talk about something that seems high-tech but can actually be a lifeline in a grid-down world. Solar flashlights and solar chargers. Here's the thing most people don't realize. The sun isn't going anywhere. Even in a total EMP blackout, even after the grid collapses, the sun will still rise every morning. And with the right tools, simple, non-digital, solar-powered tools, that sunlight can keep you alive. Imagine it's been 5 days since the EMP hit. The batteries in your regular flashlight are long dead. The candles are burning low, your radio's out, and you're starting to feel cut off from light, from communication, from the outside world. But then you pull out your solar flashlight, the one you charged just by leaving it on a windowsill, and suddenly you've got vision, you've got comfort, you've got hope. But, and this is a big but, none of that matters if your solar gear was left out when the EMP hit. Like any modern electronic, solar flashlights, lanterns, and chargers contain delicate circuitry. If they're not protected, they're toast. That's why any serious prepper stores solar-powered items in a Faraday cage. Something as simple as a metal ammo can lined with cardboard can shield them. A trash can with a tight-fitting lid, aluminum tape, and some padding. That's your homemade EMP-proof locker. It's not fancy, but it works. And let's be honest, having power even a little bit gives you options. Maybe you can power a small radio to catch emergency broadcasts. Maybe you can top off a rechargeable lantern or power bank. Some high-efficiency solar chargers can even power walkie-talkies or small fans. And in the middle of a long, hot summer blackout, that fan can feel like a miracle. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory reported in 2024 that solar devices are becoming more efficient, with some pocket-sized panels able to produce enough power to charge a phone or flashlight in just a few hours of sunlight. That's encouraging, but only if you're ready in advance. Because in an EMP scenario, it's not just about having tech, it's about protecting it. And here's the part most people miss. This kind of power doesn't make you invincible. It makes you visible. If you're the only home glowing in a pitch-black neighborhood, that could attract desperate people. So always think security first. Use blackout curtains. Keep lights pointed inward. Don't advertise your advantage.